How's it going, everyone? This is an old camera that I used to use to shoot old skateboarding videos, and it weighs nothing. I don't know how old this camera is. It's literally held together by duct tape. It's a fine pix. Look at the screen on the back of that. Look at that. Look at that screen. So tiny. So cute. But in today's video, I wanted to go over some photography basics. I wanted to talk about wide angle lenses, because odds are you're going to end up getting a wide angle lens as probably one of your first lenses. So usually you come with a kit lens. I don't know if I have a kit lens here. Oh yeah, I do. So this is an old kit lens. This is a 35 to 80. What I'm shooting on right now is a 17 to 40. This lens is considered a wide angle. So if I go to 40, this is what 40 looks like. Go to 17, this is what 17 looks like. You can see pretty much my whole back wall here. Now, why you would want to get this is for multiple different reasons why you would want a wide angle. Depending on what type of photography you're shooting, it can be useful in most scenarios. Now, first and foremost, for me personally, I like wide angles because I shoot a lot of landscape photography. And in this case, I can get as much in the scene as possible, to the point where I can put my camera really low to the ground, get a really nice foreground element and a nice background element, and have both of those look almost the same size. You could have like a little tiny rock and a mountain in the background, and they'll look the same size because of the way that the lens curves. You get a lot of distortion, but it makes everything in the foreground look huge. Now, you do get a lot of distortion with this. Like, for instance, if I put my hand up to the camera, you can see how big my hand looks. It's the same sort of thing when you're out in the field. Some things might look a bit wonky, so you really got to think about your composition and how you're going to shoot your scene. Now, going back to that other point where, my hand looks massive here, it creates a sense of depth. You get all that separation with a wide angle that it really makes your photos look three-dimensional when you set them up properly. Also, for landscape photography, it's just good to have a wide angle to capture absolutely everything. Even if you don't have any foreground interest, just being able to open up that lens all the way and get from one field of view to the other. Now, another reason why a wide angle lens is fantastic is because if you love taking pictures of the sky, you can capture everything here and still retain focus on what you initially wanted to shoot, whether that's a tree, a barn, maybe you're shooting somebody's portrait, but you really want to get more of the sky. It's fantastic for that, especially if you're looking to get into astral photography. You can get some really amazing scenes. I personally haven't really done a lot of astral photography. It's on the list of things to do. I'll get around to it. Right now it's really cold and I don't want to go sit outside. Now, one thing I really love about shooting on a 17 to 40, this wide angle lens in particular, is I usually shoot it at 17 millimeters most of the time. I don't really zoom in as much as one might think because I reframe all of my photos. I love to take a little bit of a wider scene than I normally would, because I find myself a lot of the times I'll take a photo that I think is a good composition, I'll bring it into Lightroom and I'll look at it and be like, I should have zoomed in a little bit. But I never know it when I'm taking the photo. It's really weird. I love editing photos and I crop, I'd say, about 90% of my photos. Every now and then I'll come across a photo where I took it and I was like, oh, yeah, I nailed it. Which almost never happens. I'm almost never happy with my results. But that's me. That's me beating myself up, saying like, you gotta be a better photographer. No, it's something that I always do. So for me personally, I absolutely love shooting wider, being able to crop. Having a wide angle lens lets me do that. It lets me get more in frame so I can reframe later. So odds are when you're buying your first couple of lenses, you're going to get a wide angle lens, and it's good to know what it can and can't do for you. So this photo is a good example of why you want a wide angle lens. You can have your subject here in the middle, and if you have this amazing landscape behind or in front of that person, you can capture all of that. Here's another example. This is shot on a 17 to 40. This one shot on a 17-40, you really capture absolutely everything. Now here's an example of putting a foreground subject with a background subject. This rock wasn't that big, but it's almost as big as the mountain in the background. Well, mountain, big hill, but they equal each other out. So here's an example of a photo I took where I wanted to exaggerate the sky, but still have something of interest in the photo. I have all of that sky there because I have such a wide field of view that I can capture all of that. Let's go on to another one. So in this photo, you have this bush here that's almost the same size as the mountain. And that's why it's fantastic, because you can make something really small look really big with that distortion. The mountain stays relatively the same size, but the bush at the bottom looks huge. And it gives you that sense of depth in your photos. For me personally, this is one of the reasons why a wide angle lens is my lens of choice 99% of the time. This lens almost never leaves my camera. I have a 70-200 that I use for wildlife, but for the most part, I shoot everything on this 17-40. So I hope that cleared some stuff up for you. If it didn't, I'm sorry. You can watch somebody else's video. There's tons of them on here. But if it did help you, subscribe. I'd love to see you guys back here hanging out in another video. And yeah, I think that's it for today. You guys have a good one. Peace.